One of the great benefits of using a computer is to allow you to write instructions which will be repeated over and over again without having to repeatedly call them. This process of repeating a series of instructions is called looping. The group of repeated instructions is called a loop. The iteration is a single execution of the statements within the loop. In this movie, we'll learn about the do loop. The do loop has two basic forms, which has two sub-forms of each. There is a pre-test and a post-test. We'll look at examples of each of these forms of loops. Within the code, you'll see that there is a statement called do and a statement called loop. Everything in between the words do and loop will be the statements that will be executed with each iteration or pass through the loop. In this movie, I'm not going to focus on those specific statements, but rather the looping structures themselves. This first example is an example of the pretest with the while statement. The pretest means that the condition is checked at the top of the loop. That is, it is entirely possible that this loop will never be executed because the value that's being tested for, in this case A and B, may indeed be false, so therefore the statement will never be executed. An alternative to the pretest with the while is to use the until statement. Changing the word while to until keeps the pretest intact, but now the condition is stating so that we say we want to perform the loop until a certain condition becomes true. This is different than saying while it's true. The third form is to use a post-test. The post-test is to remove the condition associated with the do and place it with the word loop. Now we have a post-test because we have our condition at the bottom of the loop. The important thing to recognize with a post-test is that a post-test will guarantee that the statements in the loop will be executed at least once. That is, the condition is not evaluated until after the statement is executed at least once, and then the condition is evaluated. So therefore, the basic difference between a pretest and a post-test is that a pretest gives you the possibility of not executing the loop, where the post-test will guarantee execution at least once, and then the condition is evaluated. And then fourth and final example is to change the word until to while. So now we have a post-test using the while statement. Oftentimes it does not make a difference which of these four forms you use, that is, a pretest or a post-test or the words while or until. In most cases you can solve the problem using either or a combination of these techniques. It oftentimes comes down to programmer preference and what makes sense for the logic that applies to your situation at this particular moment. You'll notice that the Visual Basic Editor automatically aligns the words do and loop to make it easier to understand what statements go with what. You can also create nested do loops. That is, I could come inside of here and create another do loop by simply typing do, and as you can see, it automatically provides another set of do loops, another do loop pair within the outer do loop. This inner do loop is known as a nested do loop. And that is, you can have a pretest or a post-test within another pretest or a post-test as well. We'll see some examples of how nested do loops can be used in a separate movie.